Welcome to a super interesting in-depth comparison of the all-new Hyundai Santa Fe. We have two vehicles here for you, different powertrains, different interiors, different exteriors, everything you need to know. How good is this new generation here? We'll examine everything together. I'm Thomas, this is Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go, starting with this vehicle here, terracotta orange, and don't forget to visit our shop to get, for example, your Autogefühl fake exhaust police t-shirt. Here, this vehicle here has, by the way, the opening flaps here for the AC, actually for the radiation also, because at the moment the AC on the inside of the vehicle is on. That I can also show you the turning indicators and also the daytime running light, because it forms this H right here for the Hyundai Corporation or the brand, obviously. And when you hit the turning indicators, it replaces exactly this scheme, and that looks really awesome. In general, this new generation, wider stance, it looks so much more angular, and either here in this shape here, this, let's say, a more closed shape in this element design. This is more or less the base design, also with the silver look in the lower part, or we move over to our creamy white vehicle. I'm not sure if this is creamy, this white color. Yeah, but I think it's a very bright and nice white color, definitely. And this one here is equipped with the black pack. And this also features then, or black edition, this also features a different design here. Not only that it's more with black elements, but also this mesh design, this more grille design, I would say, in the top and also in the lower part. And this part is also blacked out. Yeah, but overall, both have a really strong stance, and it's so cool when you also hit the turning indicators or then the hazard lights, for example. Towards the side, the new length is 4.83 meters or 190 inches. That's about 5 centimeters or 2 inches increase in wheelbase, actually. Let's see if that translates to more legroom in the interior. This one here, the black edition, also with black wheels. You either get them in 18-inch or in 20-inch, and these here are indeed the big 20-inch wheels. We also have 20-inch on the other vehicle, just that there we don't have them in black. And also here, the wheel arches are in high gloss black, whereas with the lower trim vehicle, they are more in this easy plastic styling, but it's not too bad at all. And I would rather say, well, the other one is also not a low trim vehicle. It's more about high versus higher trim in comparison here today. You have this really boxy style. You can already see it right here, and all the way blacked out this window area. And there you can see, especially with the white color, this forms a really great contrast and looks like it would have a flying roof. Actually, this element right here, I'll soon show you more about that. This is a very special feature this vehicle actually has. Black roof rail as well. And also towards the rear, such a boxy design, also aiming especially at the existing customers. This is here built in Alabama in the US, of course. And they really want to have even more interior space. And you can already see on the exterior that the cutout for the rear hatch is larger than before. And we'll show that to you very soon in detail. Also the tail lamps forming this H here, the Hyundai H. This is then the plug-in hybrid then in this case. The other one is the built-in hybrid. And when you hit the turning indicators here, they appear in the lower part. The reason for that is that they can stay actually in that place even if the hatch is opened, because they see it, they are placed really, really low right here, and then they still appear then when you open the hatch. Yeah, that's the reason behind that. Once again, to our terracotta orange vehicle, of course, there are more colors available. Large Santa Fe lettering here. You know, they named these vehicles after the cities. They have their Hyundai Santa Fe and their Hyundai Tucson. This was a special strategy to build the vehicles in the US and to name them after US cities. And this was largely successful for Hyundai because they could get so much more acceptance by the US audience there. And this trim here, they have a very interesting additional feature. First of all, when you look at here from the outside and touch this, you might say, what is this kind of flimsy piece? And is it like bad build quality or something? But there's a reason behind it. So when I open this door here, then at the side I see there's this small lock, and maybe need a hard key. This one from another brand, honestly. And then you can unlock this, or you can also use a screwdriver or something, and then you can push this one in. When you lock it again, it comes out. Not possible. Unlock it. There we go. See here? Interesting, right? And when you have it like this, for example, you want to install a bike rack on top, then you can, for example, put your feet here on the tire, grab here, and then it's like an easier help to get on the top and install or deinstall something there. This is the key fob. Well, obviously they didn't renew that one for the new generation. Yeah, it doesn't appear that much premium, honestly. But then here the door handles, they are really rugged, and door closing sound. This beeping is, by the way, because the ignition is on. Well, in the rear I found the door closing sound actually pretty cool. In the front, yeah, it's okay, let's take it that way. Then inside of the doors, this is very beautiful here with this matte wood insert, like that you can also hear it, how it feels. Then inside of the doors here, yeah, I mean, it's not, this is just like a hard part. This one here has at least like a structure, but it's not covered with any fabric or something. Then we have a nice Santa Fe entry badge right there, and a completely new cockpit, 2x 12.3 inch. Zoom more to that. You see there's like this curved screen format, and also the steering wheel looks really modern. It almost looks like in a Range Rover style, or what would you say? You know, here also with this brushed aluminum style. Still real buttons. Here for the cruise control, for example, to change something in the instruments, right side to pick up the phone. Then the seats. In the US or North American market, you get fabric seats or also a perforated leatherette that would almost look like this. In Europe, however, only here the animal skin choices, because they rather sell the high trims here. So yeah, would be better if you also had the choices like in the Northern American market. Headroom, 189, 6'2". Still a lot of headroom left. There you see that it has this boxy style, and you have this upright seating position here. Yeah, you really feel like king of the road. For European taste, this is a full-size SUV. In the non-American market, rather a mid-size SUV. But really good from the seat ergonomics, and steering wheel is here in the manual control, but feels really good how you move it up and down. So everything feels very solid so far. This cockpit here is really made for the needs of the Northern American market. I'll show you some feature. Why is that actually? Let's start at your side here, at the passenger side at this moment. It's very interesting. Here on the top part we have the first glove box. You can see it. And if you have the black edition trim, as an option, you can also have this here with a UV sterilization. Then in the lower part you have the normal glove box like this, but this is not dampened actually, it just folds down like this, and then some more space right here. And even here, once again, you see from design, very interesting, it's the same design we see from the outside headlamps, and we also have this design scheme here at the seats. It's kind of like stamped in right here, and always this Hyundai H. So these are some nice little design features. Then you can once again see this curved screen, 2x 12.3 inch. This is then also a touchscreen on the right. Left side digital instruments. This is not wire touch, most obviously. Start stop here. To change the gears is here, like in the recent Hyundai electric vehicles. Here, drive, reverse, or 4P. But this is actually very handy to have it on the steering wheel. And also the quality of the buttons on the steering wheel, the jog wheels for the volume. This is actually pretty cool. Then here in this lower part, we have real climate dials, still to turn and everything. I like that. When you press inside, then actually you control, there we go, like the vent strength, the fan speed, but only of the auto function. When you don't want to have it in the auto function, then you can do it here in the middle of the screen. Then this open atmosphere here on the left side, you have an inductive charging pad here. This is how it looks like here in the even higher trim. Then you have two inductive charging pads next to each other. However, they are both not cooled. The phones will overheat. Here in the front, you can switch between charging with the cable or charging and connecting, and for the smartphone connection. And huge bottle holders, also one feature that North American customers will appreciate. You can even put like large bottles here or really large coffee cups and so on. Stanley cups, it's of course for Leah. Then here a soft middle armrest, and it's really aligned here. It's a very interesting idea. And then you fold up, and there's one more thing. There's huge space in there. This stuff you can put out, and then, I mean, look at that. There's like a splitter in there, and then I heard that even whole children got lost in here. So look at that. It's like, I don't know, if you put things in there, maybe you will never find them again because it's just too large in there. And yeah, so, but at least you have the possibility to put a lot of stuff underneath right here. And overall, I think they found a very modern cockpit. Let's take a look here at the driver POV. And here it is, and all these buttons are easy to control. And here, for example, then you can change some details in digital instruments, and they're clear to read. Left side speed, right side RPM, and also these hybrid information. And if you wonder about these here, by the way, these blinking lights you do not see with your own eye. You only see them on camera. And these are actually the infrared trackers if you are still awake, and then they give you this fatigue warning. Yeah, all modern cars have that now. Infotainment system is, I would say, quick enough. You also have this home screen, settings. You can control everything right here. Most important will be the vehicle settings here. There you can, for example, also change some more seat settings here, like this. Also here, like if you want automatic ventilation and so on. And most important, CarPlay and Android integration. Wireless or wired, you can choose that. And some more features with the Dia. First of all, down there you have this open space underneath the middle console. Yeah, really huge, and also 12-volt power supply. And then the roof line is actually really soft. Feels really nice. That's cool. And yeah, one of our favorite features. Wait for it. There we go. And if you now think this is a special feature, yeah, it is. Not so many cars have that anymore, and I think it's so useful on long highway rides, depending where the sun is coming from, that you can actually extend that sun blind from the side. Comparison to an even higher trim. First of all, we have here memory seats. Then you have two buttons here for the memory seats. Then what you can also get, you remember we had the manual steering. Here the steering column is electrically adjustable, so this is also part of the higher trim. Also the seats here, I can put this forward thing here also a little bit higher, so you can rest your leg on there, and also include this relaxing seat function. You maybe know it also from their electric vehicles, for example. There we go. So it goes first of all a little bit forward, and then you go upward and also backward just with one press of a button. And you have this sleeping position, and the same also accounts here for the passenger seat. And I also have here the controls here. I can do directly from the side, you know. So this is also not included in the lower trim or the mid trim we had earlier. Well, actually, this was more like high and highest trim. So, and here you can also press this one button then to get it in the sleepy position. That's actually a cool feature, right? You can press directly from here, and then you have two sleepy positions next to each other. And here in the even higher trim, you can put your phone here in this top part and then hit the UVC radiation button. So this is then for disinfection of your devices. Rear seats, super interesting. First of all, the rear doors here with the manual sunshine, and goes all the way. So this is a clever choice indeed. Then also the matte wood insert once again. Seat heating for the rear is also available, and also nice inside door handles. You see here the door opens not exactly 90 degrees, but I would say wide enough. Isofix in on the outside seats, and then you can slide them forward and backward. And here, when you just release them, they come a little bit forward, and then you have to push them back a little bit more, like this. And the same also goes here for the other side, like the 2/3. Then also USB-C charging here in the inside of the seats, each on both sides. And you can also open the middle console from here, so you can actually open that from both sides and access it. Also a very clever idea. And in the lower part here, there is another storage. Wow, I mean, it's really huge indeed, the storage you have here in this vehicle. Then the space I have to the seats I would be driving, still enough legroom left, and there's also enough headroom left, no problem as for that. And we can also change the angle of the seat, steeper or more in the... Wow, that goes far. That's a nice sleeping position, of course, if good night, if I would put the head restraint a little bit more up. So really nice solutions. And there's even a great solution to access the third seating row, because there's a 5-seater, a 6-seater, and here today the most interesting one, the 7-seater. So there are two possibilities. Either you press this button, or the same button is done on the top here. And when you press this button here, folds and also slides forward. That's super easy, right? You can also push it a little bit more forward. And then you have here access to the third seating row. Also Isofix on the 6th and 7th seat. Finally, someone thought of that. So I'll climb in. There we go. So a lot of times we see these 7-seaters and they do not have isofix on the rear because sometimes you don't have too much space here, so you could at least use them for child seats. Here you can. So what I've done here is that on this part here, on the 1/3, I've moved the seat a little bit more forward, the way I could still sit there. And then you can see, yeah, I have to squeeze myself in here. So it's not thought for 7 tall adults or something. Yeah, doesn't work so much leg room wise. And if I would pull this one back, it would be even like here when it's in the far back position. So not too much space in length. It's also not the longest vehicle overall, but here, since it has this boxy dimensions, the headroom is actually perfectly fine. So that's then the thing. So here, this is another button. There is also this button on top that you can actually get out yourself when you're sitting here in the rear. And then also very interesting what we have here, we have a full power socket here in the rear, so that is available, and even a rear climate unit you can adjust yourself. It's also, when it's powered, then it will also show a light here for the rear, so that's also a nice cozy feature. And as a comparison, this is here the 6-seater trim. Here I also have electric seat control for the rear seats, for example here for the inclination. And I also have these armrests here for the captain seats. Yeah, the seating comfort is not too different from the rear bench, I would feel. I can also slide these ones here forward and backward. Yeah, and of course the cool thing is that in this case the kids will have fun because without folding anything, it's still possible, you know. You can press this button then here, and then the same actually goes here, just that this top button is electric actually. And then let's see, when I push the button once again, this one goes, but I think the rest, yeah, I have to slide forward myself then, like this. The cool thing here then, the kids, especially when you're a little bit slimmer, you can just go through the 3rd seating row in this case. Let's take a look here at the trunk or the boot. Electric hatch, there we go. And then at this moment, 3rd seating row is up. Then here a trolley only fits in a vertical way, because there's not much length left. This is here 1.40 meters, by the way. So you see here it's wider to the sides, but between the wheel arch it's 1.40 meters. And then this 3rd seating row here, I can, for example, pull this strap here. There you can see you can also make it more backward for a more comfy seating position, but then there's even less trunk left. Otherwise than that, you can fold them down like this. You can also pull the strap on the top here. This is also possible. Goes all the way flat then. Top tether behind here and there. So 4 top tethers. And then underneath you have, let's say, some storage. Yeah, that's about it. Then the normal length here of the trunk is about 1.10 meters or 43 inches, and the height, this is about 80 centimeters or 32 inches, so no problem for doggo boxes. Then on the right side here, L, R, second. I'll press these simultaneously now. Woo! Yay! This is awesome. Look at that. I mean, here, by the way, is 725 liters, the setup to the when the 2nd row is not down. But here, when it's all the way down, even more space. And look at that, the length here is 1.95 meters or 77 inches. This is a great versatile car. And maybe we step back a little bit once again. There we can see how square these look. You see that? This is awesome, right? So even if you put really bulky things in there, no problem at all. What about the engines? First of all, we have gas struts here, so they just remain open like this. Pretty cool. In the Northern American market, you start with a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder, either naturally aspirated or with turbo. Then you have a little bit more power, better acceleration and so on. These two are not available on the European market. They really set the focus on the hybrids. They're also available in USA and in Canada. And this one here is the plug-in hybrid. So this one gets a 14 kilowatt hour gross battery, not too large actually for a car of that size. A little bit quicker than here in the acceleration, 9.3 or 9.1 seconds, depending on the market. And this one is the inbuilt hybrid. It's the same 1.6 liter turbo engine. So the same base with the inbuilt hybrid and the plug-in hybrid. Only this one then is a little bit slower. This was You're fine, you're fine. 9.5 seconds. And the thing is, yeah, since this inbuilt hybrid was complaining, the thing is that the plug-in hybrid is of course only reaching its full acceleration capacity when the battery is fully charged. Welcome to Thomas's Driving Lounge, all new Hyundai Santa Fe, and we start here with the inbuilt hybrid. Then when you drive really, really slowly, just electric. As soon as I go a little bit more on the throttle, then I don't know what is he complaining about. Maybe that the infrared sensor is not able to see me or something like that. That could be because there's like this red eye sign. I'm not feeling comfortable with seeing a red eye sign in the instruments. Do you? Okay. Back to the vehicle. So it's always back and forth between if you go electric or not. The inbuilt hybrid here, of course, most of the time will it run on the internal combustion engine. Like here I see this visualization. Not sure if you always want to take a look at that one while you're driving, but when I'm, for example, off the throttle, here in this case, then electric, also gaining back some of the energy, and then you can enjoy these electric moments, or for example, you can maneuver around inside the city, electric and so on. So this is all possible. What I also want to show to you is how versatile it is to to move this vehicle around. For example, here now, getting here to this little construction site, and can't go further here now, even though it gets rough. D to R, easy, very easy to steer it also, so there's hardly any effort needed. Camera system, I have good control over the vehicle, so my point is that it feels not that large. And then this, for example, also cool here, this back and forth, I did all electric in here, so there you can have a little bit less emissions or maybe less noise also for your neighbors when maneuvering back and forth and so on. And really this light steering and the good maneuverability, and also that you have a good overview here, makes the car easy to maneuver. Although for European taste, for example, it's already quite a large vehicle, but again, as I said, it doesn't feel that large, and that's actually a cool thing. It feels really modern and sophisticated so far at lower speeds. But of course, we are in Germany here today, and that's why we will take this one here out to the German Autobahn. By the way, also nice to put in the turning indicators. They give you a very good and sophisticated feedback. So I like to use the turning indicators for this one. Remember, it's a large vehicle, and we have the 1.6 liter four-cylinder. So 1.6 liters is not exactly large displacement. The 2.5 liter natural aspirated or 2.5 turbo you can get in the North American market, I feel displacement-wise would be more suitable for this vehicle, honestly. But let's see what the acceleration and so on. So we get onto the German Autobahn, and we can also select here different driving modes. So when you press them, you go to the terrain modes, to the off-road modes. This is also the all-wheel drive version of the inbuilt hybrid. And now we go to the sport mode, so we have a little bit more RPM preload. You also hear that already. And then we start here from about 40 kilometers an hour. Little bit uphill this ramp here, and let's go. 100. 130. 40. Yeah, it's okay. It's not too powerful. And actually, it's not too loud as well. So we're here now at 150 kilometers an hour. That's reasonable. The suspension is, I feel, set on like more long, soft tone, so it doesn't give you the sportiest feedback, but it also doesn't need to be. So it's actually a good setup, I feel. We have 20-inch, and so far when we drive over some, bumps in the road and so on, it's fine. It's more giving me definitely the comfort vibes. Also when we do some lane change here, right? Good control of the steering wheel. Once again, this blind spot monitor feature. I have a very good feeling for the vehicle actually. And here, once again, yeah, so I like the steering feel. Yeah, at about 160 kilometers an hour, the wind noise are picking up from these large mirrors there outside, but I think it's actually reasonable. It's not the race car, and it's also not competing with the German premium SUVs in the driving dynamics and so on. So the only thing you don't have here is maybe like this suspension performance and the dynamic driving fun you get maybe like with the BMW competitor here with an X3 or the X5. but it also doesn't have to compete with that in that case. This is more relaxing. You go from Santa Fe to Tucson and back again, for example, like that, or from Santa Fe to Vegas or whatever, you know. So long term, sitting upright, enjoying also the space you have here in the front and so on. Zia, your verdict about noise insulation?
Oh, fine.
Is fine, yeah, because she's more sensitive to these wind noises here, and sometimes even when I'm not picking them up, she's saying like, wait a minute, that's too loud. But here actually gets the Lia stem also for noise insulation. So I feel pretty much at home here also on the German Autobahn, although it's not developed for the German Autobahn, not at all, rather than for the US highways. I think it's very well to maneuver here. Sometimes, when you're switching lanes, for example, and then there's a bump in the road, then you feel, that the suspension and the steering combination is maybe not giving you the, let's say, the best feeling how to control the vehicle. So as soon as the situation gets a little bit more critical, I would say, once again proves my point that this is not for driving that dynamic or something, but still I feel it is actually fun to drive, and also from the lane changes and so on, you do feel then here also the weight and the size. So the most predominant size then here is rather smaller in the EU here on these roads. All the SUVs we have here, they usually way smaller than this one. This is right here the braking warning. There's the traffic then here in front of us. And there we can also, for example, test the cruise control, activate here on the left side of the steering wheel. Then is also, I see a small green steering symbol. This means then we also have the active steering. So let's see how it keeps me in the lane. This noise, by the way, is, maybe you pick it up from the camera, is from these flattering bands here, like from a truck, not from inside the vehicle. So far, didn't hear any rattling noise or something. Did you hear anything? No, it was all good, all silent. We recently had the Ford Kuga, by the way. This is, of course, a size, like one size smaller. This would be the Ford Explorer, the direct competitor, but there, at higher speed, we had some rattling noise from the back cover of the trunk, actually. Not appearing here, and see here, like the assistance systems, no hectic steering movements, everything really smooth. So they also stepped it up assistance systems wise. So indeed, it feels like a very sophisticated vehicle, and this is also what I would describe as the biggest change from the previous generation to this one. This one feels more grown up, more sophisticated, more quality of the interior. Here in the front cockpit, we also saw it when we were controlling all the seats, moving stuff back and forth, flipping things. This is where it sometimes becomes obvious when something is missing quality-wise or something, but here this doesn't happen at all. So this feels really good, and still all the assistance systems in place. At the moment, once again, the combustion engine is on. It's also charging the battery that, for example, at another point when we're running downhill, we can drive all electric again. Now we go in there. Yeah, it is beeping quite some time. This has been the case here with Hyundai, Kia, Genesis vehicles. All vehicles nowadays give a lot of warning chimes and tones and stuff. But here with these ones, I think their acoustic scheme is sometimes a little bit too much. We recently had it also in the Kia Sorento review, which is also the direct internal competitor here, of course, to the Hyundai Santa Fe. And speaking of the Kia Sorento, yes, this one is a little bit older, that model. And I feel especially here that all-new Santa Fe, it sets something on top. So yeah, if we would compare the Kia Sorento and the Hyundai Santa Fe here, just from the feeling you get here, definitely also more sophisticated than the Kia Sorento, especially from that whole interior driving feeling and so on. Or what would you say? Sorento or Santa Fe? Which one would you keep?
Santa Fe. Yeah,
she would also keep the Santa Fe, yeah. Yeah, especially I think on the US market where I can get a more decent price, and also these lower trims where you have, for example, the fabric seats and so on. Here, definitely, I think the catch here on the European market is that you only get these high pricing versions, which then again put it into the direct competitors from the Germans, Audi, BMW, Mercedes, and so on. Sometimes it might work, sometimes not. Here, the inbuilt hybrid engine will be suitable for the European market if you are not talking about tax benefits and so on. The plug-in hybrid will give you more tax benefits. That's, of course, a thing to consider. Other than that, you can also as well go here with the inbuilt hybrid. Although for the size of the vehicle, if you have the choice like you have on the Northern American market, probably then go for the 2.5 liter engines. They just give you more displacement here, especially for that large engine, or if you want to tow something. Fuel economy here for the inbuilt hybrid, we could not drive it long enough to give you really the best average figure here today. So we have for you today like a span where it will be probably most of the time be somewhere in between 7 and 10 liters on 100 kilometers, depending on if you like really speed it up on the Autobahn or if you more use the hybrid system inside the city. So between 35 and 25 mpg US and between 40 and 28 mpg UK. At the later stage, when we drive it for a longer period of time, we can maybe like near us like a more realistic average, but actually the more realistic figure will be somewhere in between of this span. And then we switch here to the plug-in hybrid model, take a spin with this one. The question is, of course, does it feel any different? And well, it is of course a little bit higher in weight, considering the overall weight of this vehicle. However, yeah, you will not feel that majorly. Also, this battery here of the plug-in hybrid drivetrain is not the biggest one, which is also one of the criticism points. And if you go for a plug-in hybrid, of course, it would make more sense that you can drive just a longer period of time all electric. This one was approaching quite quickly. So the basic driving dynamics here from steering and so on, everything is more or less the same. And also when you start driving just rather slowly, we had also the electric driving in the inbuilt hybrid, so this one feels kind of similar. Then the difference are picking up when I'm driving just longer, of course, and also a little bit quicker. The plug-in hybrid just enables you to drive all electric in a that happens longer period of time and just further. Not too much all electric, of course, because the battery is limited in the size, but of course more than with the inbuilt hybrid. So it would make sense if you, for example, charge at home or charge at work and then commute all electric to work and back and forth, then the plug-in hybrid makes sense, or also if it makes sense taxation-wise or something like that. Almost feels like here being in the Kia EV9, you know. They are, the EV9 is even a little bit larger, but also from the whole layout and so on, I really feel that especially the plug-in hybrid is kind of close to the Kia EV9 in the whole driving feel. What we will also do is here that we show you some more acceleration and also here the maneuverability. See, yeah, that works here. And once again, I'll push it to the sport mode. Then we'll have some acceleration with the hybrid system that we can have. The is also on now. There we go. So, let's see. Oh, that's 70. Oh, yeah, that felt a little bit weird. Interesting. I mean, it's the same base engine underneath that, but you feel that here with the plug-in hybrid, the engine is not as ready as it is with the inbuilt hybrid in a way, you know. So you feel that this hybrid drivetrain is, to my perception, more laid out for, hey, you drive it first electric and then you deplete it and then you go for the combustion engine. So yeah, what I feel here that the transitions between the drivetrains like electric combustion is a little bit smoother in the inbuilt hybrid. Yeah, also another interesting thing to know, and proves again my point that if you don't get taxation benefits, I think it's better to go for the inbuilt hybrid. Pricing is the key for this vehicle here to the Northern American market, because with the base engine it starts at $34,000, and wow, I mean, such a large vehicle with so much interior space for that price, that is also the success story of the Hyundai Santa Fe, especially on the Northern American market. Then again, if you think about the European market, for example, it only is available in higher trims there, like we have it here today, and also way higher price. Of course, you have to bring the cars over from the States then to Europe. And so we are here at an entry price of 57,000 euros, a large gap. Yes, the price here in Germany, for example, is including VAT, so that's even a larger difference. And then when you equip a vehicle with some more extras, this one here, for example, the inbuilt hybrid as it stands here, 62,000 euros. However, then the plug-in hybrid with even highest trim, 70,000 euros. And then, of course, you're already in a region where you can say like, hey, yeah, maybe get an BMW X3, X5 for that or something like that, in a low trim of course in comparison. Still, they will be cheaper than the German premium competitors in the list price. However, then the leasing rates, this is of course a fully different story. So there's a large price gap, and therefore I think on the Northern American market it's very attractive. On the European market, price of course can be a problem. Overall, I think the interior solutions are pretty cool, especially with the large opening of the rear hatch, and also that you can do 6-seater, 5-seater, 7-seater, and you have good concepts to move around inside the vehicle, fold the seats and so on. And the new cockpit interior is pretty cool. Only sad that here in Europe we can only get the animal skin based seats. On the Northern American market, it's way better again that you can get animal friendly perforated leatherette or the fabric seats. So once again, I see this car once again very successful on the Northern American market. In Europe, of course, it has some buts in there. Not like these buts, like but, B-U-T, with one T, right? So then tell me what you think about the all-new Hyundai Santa Fe, and also compare the competitors.